Before I start teaching you Shakespearean tragedy, this play The King Lear, so I think it is better to start with something about Shakespeare. You know that Shakespeare was one of the greatest dramatists of the world, and he is still considered the greatest dramatist. And as you know that according to the Guinness World Book of Record, he is the best seller. Still, he is the best seller in the whole world. Macbeth, Shakespeare, he wrote many plays. He wrote comedies as well as tragedies, but he is basically known for his tragedy. He has written five or six tragedies, which are called the greatest tragedies of Shakespeare. There are many critics who believe that there are only four, but there are some who believe that the number is six. And so these six, Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear, Othello, Julius Caesar, and Romeo and Juliet, are called the greatest tragedies of Shakespeare. Now, before we start studying King Lear as a tragedy, so it is better for us to know the characteristics of Shakespearean tragedy. You know that as we have studied that Shakespeare's comedy has some its salient features. Similarly, in the same way, Shakespearean tragedy has some features which are found in almost all of his tragedies. So, the first characteristic of Shakespearean tragedy is that Shakespearean tragedy is the story of basically one man, that is called the hero or heroine, or at most two person, hero and heroine. The whole story moves around only one person, that is called the hero or heroine of the. For example, in King Lear, we will see that the whole story moves around King Lear. In the same way, Hamlet, in the same way, Othello. In Othello, if you study Othello, you will see that the whole story moves around the character of the Othello. He is the main protagonist. So there is only one hero, or the whole story moves around only one person in the Shakespearean tragedy. The second characteristic of Shakespearean tragedy is that the hero of the play is a man of high position. He is not an ordinary man. He is either the king, queen, princess, or at most or at least the general of the army. So he is a man of high position. So his fall may affect our life also. So this is the, as I told you, that this is the story of one person, and the person, the hero, the main protagonist of the play is a person of high position. Shakespeare does not deal with the ordinary person. Second, the third is important is that Shakespearean hero suffers due to some flaws in his character. It means the Shakespearean hero or heroines or some any protagonist, he has some flaw in his characters, and due to his flaw in characters, he suffers in the end of the play. For example, King Lear is an intelligent person, but he asks a foolish questions. He wants to judge the love of the quantity and quality of love of his daughters. So, due to his foolish question, his character is destroyed. He meets his own fall. So, in every character, similarly, Hamlet has some flaw in his character. Othello has some flaw in his character. Othello has flaw that he is a suspicious, he is a jealous, he does not try to know either what is the fact, and so he kills his wife due to suspicion. So there is some. Second thing is that the story, Shakespearean tragedy is the story of the suffering and calamity of the tragic hero. The whole story, the whole tragedy moves around the hero of the. So the story is the suffering and calamity of the tragic hero. The next question, the next characteristic of Shakespearean tragedy is that in Shakespearean tragedy, chance and fate plays very important role. If you study all the tragedy, there are some chance and plays. They are very playing very important role. And in a Shakespearean tragedy, we also find supernatural elements, the witch, the ghost, and etc. As we know that in Macbeth, we find the three witches, three sisters, and they are making prophecies of the future regarding Macbeth. And so, in almost all of his, we find in his tragedy, we find some supernatural elements. The last characteristic, I think, that the Shakespeare tragic hero dies in the end of the play. If a Shakespearean hero does not die in the end of the play, it is not a true Shakespearean tragedy. So it is bound to die, the hero, in the end of the play. So almost in every tragedy we find that there is the hero dies in the end of the play. So if the hero does not die, it is not a true Shakespearean hero tragedy. So Shakespearean hero dies in the end of his tragedy. One more characteristic I remember, that he is there is a internal conflict in the mind of the character, main protagonist in the tragedy, and so that is there is always confusion in mind of the hero. He is always confused. The hero's fall is due to this internal conflict. Due to this internal, his fall is bounded, and in the Shakespearean tragedy, we see that the tragic hero always faces a critical dilemma, and that brings his downfall. Thus, we see that Shakespeare hero is himself responsible for his tragic end. He has some flaws in his own character that lead to his death. For example, Othello has suspicious nature which leads to his death. In case of Hamlet, he is unable to take decision to be or not to be. That is the main dilemma of his life, and he is not unable to take a decision. This ability to take decision causes his death. If he has taken timely action, he would not have died. But it was a tragedy, and Shakespeare's intention was to write a tragedy. So he makes the character unable to take decision. And some other thing, as I told you, that the hero is the person of high position. So we see that in his greatest tragedy, Shakespeare wants to convey the idea that in this world, striving for good is always thwarted by evil, and man's heroic action is always wasted because the nature is always hostile to human beings. Here we see that we find a comparison between Shakespeare and Thomas Hardy. Thomas Hardy also believes in his novel that nature is always hostile to human beings. And the disastrous failures of tragic hero leads not only to his death but also the death of many others. And so here we see that this is the characteristic. And now we will start the actual play, the King Lear, in the light of all these which I told you the characteristic of this poem, this play. So.